Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto's Mother Was Tsunade Senju, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down. In Oni no Kuni, and during that time Naruto had changed a good bit since then. After nearly being captured and killed by the Amnins, Tsunade had doubled Naruto's training regimen as well as his medical studies. She had also called in Jiraiya and informed him of the events that happened and asked him to create a tracking seal for Naruto and place it on him. Jiraiya did this by carving a tracking seal onto a chain earring and putting it onto Naruto's right ear. This way, if ever Naruto was in trouble or was missing, Tsunade or Jiraiya could easily track Naruto with it, since they would wear special rings with seals on them, which would allow them to track down Naruto wherever he went. The seal also worked where if Naruto channeled his chakra into the chain earring, Jiraiya and Tsunade's rings would heat up and tell them that he was in trouble and needed help. Tsunade also put her Sozo Saisei creation rebirth on Naruto's forehead and then taught him how to focus and store chakra into it and then release it. So to use the Infuen, Kai Yin seal, released so that if he was ever seriously hurt he could use it to heal himself. Tsunade had done this since she would rather have Naruto shorten his life very slightly than lose it entirely. Naruto had also become more dedicated to his training ever since his fight with the Amnins, where he had gotten a first-hand experience of how dangerous the life of a shinobi was. He had also used his desire to protect his family and friends to focus more on becoming stronger, so that he could protect his friends and family better, since he knew that the day would come when they would be unable to help him and they would need him to protect them in turn. During Naruto's training they focused a great deal on Naruto mastering his new superhuman strength, and although he could use it much better than he used to, he still was not on the same level as his mother, but still could do a lot of damage to people and things. Naruto had also gotten better in using medical jutsus as he was able to assist his mother in healing people with non-life-threatening injuries or illness. He had even proven to be more skilled in certain areas than Tsunade, where he could use chakra no mesu chakra scalpels in close combat in a fight. During a training spar, Naruto showed that he was precise enough to be able to effectively cut several muscle tissues and tendons on her arms and legs and made it hard for her to move quickly enough or correctly. Tsunade also trained Naruto in genjutsu, where he showed to be surprisingly skilled in it, where he was able to quickly grasp the concept of genjutsu. For example, when Naruto caught Jiraiya trying to peek into the women's hot spring, he put Jiraiya in a genjutsu so that instead of seeing naked girls, Jiraiya would see old naked ladies with loads of wrinkles on their body. Jiraiya's screams of horror could heard all around the town when it happened and caused him to have a cardiac arrest. While at the same time Naruto maniac laughing could also be heard, since over time Naruto had inherited several traits from Tsunade. The first was that he liked to gamble, but wasn't as addicted to it as Tsunade was and was very good at it. The second was that he had inherited Tsunade's nasty short temper. Although he could control it better than she could, but when he lost it there would be a lot of collateral damage, just like with his mother. The third trait was that he got a perverse pleasure of beating up and torturing perverts, much to Jiraiya's dismay, who had been the object of most of Naruto attacks on perverts, which involved him pranking Jiraiya. At the same time Naruto had somehow also gained a taste for playing pranks on people and was very good at it. Jiraiya had also trained him in ninjutsu and taught him earth jutsus like Doten, Ritsudo Tensho earth style, tearing earth turning palm, Tsuchi Bunshin no Jutsu, earth clone technique Doten, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu earth release, double suicide decapitation technique Doten, Moguragaku no Jutsu earth style, hiding like a mole technique, and Doten, Dorokugeshi earth style, earth shore return. While he also helped him learn water jutsus like Suten, Mizurappa water style, violent water wave Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water clone technique, and Suten, Sushi no Jutsu, water style, water drowning technique. Also thanks to the Shodai Hokage's necklace which Naruto now wore, his Mokuton skills improved where he could use Mokuton, Harain wood style, impaling roots 1 as well as Mokuton, Mokashoku wood style, wooden tentacles. He even taught himself how to use Moku Bunshin no Jutsu wood style, wooden clone technique after he learned Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Tsuchi Bunshin no Jutsu, as well as Mokuton, henge wood style, transformation. Jiraiya also helped Naruto improve his sealing skill where he could easily seal objects and tools into scrolls, as well as use the Shikoku Fuan finger engraving seal and a couple other sealing techniques. Also after the events in Oni no Kuni, Naruto kept in close contact with Shien where they wrote to one another, but after a year Shien stopped writing back to him. When he mentioned it to his mother, she said that maybe Shien was busy in training to be the next shrine maiden with her mother, since it took a lot of hard work and learning to be one and she was too busy to write right now. Naruto accepted the answer since Shien had mentioned to him that her mother was training her to be a shrine maiden and it was hard work to train to be one, but still he felt concerned as to why she did not reply once to him. A few months later in the middle of a forest in Mori no Kuni, forest country. Naruto was currently walking alone in the forest to train. Both Tsunade and Shizune along with Tonton were in the local village treating a few people. He had told his mother that he was going to train in the forest for a short while by himself since he found that sometimes he needed train alone. Tsunade had naturally been concerned when Naruto did this, but Naruto had promised that he would avoid any trouble and keep a low profile and keep from being noticed by anyone. Also since he still wore his tracking earring, she would know if he was ever in trouble and be able to find him quickly. Naruto wore a pair of gray shinobi pants, black shirt with his great-grandfather's necklace underneath it and a pair of sandals and a gray zip jacket over his black shirt. As Naruto trained alone in the forest he made sure that there was nobody nearby by sending out shadow clones to keep an eye out for anyone that may be coming his way and see him training. Knowing how important that his identity was kept secret until the time was right for his heritage to be announced. Naruto was training hard in taijutsu, since he had realized that he needed a style of fighting that worked well for him, where he could use his speed and naturally agility along with his super strength to their full extent. Although his mother was a skilled fighter in taijutsu she had no real style, she mainly used her sheer power and strength to overwhelm her opponents. Naruto knew this would not work for him, since he was not his mother and overwhelming his enemies with brute strength and power would not work for him. He knew there would be enemies out there that could not be defeated with strength and power alone and so he decided to create his own taijutsu style. Since he didn't really have a taijutsu teacher to train him since neither his mother, Shizune or Jiraiya were taijutsu experts in any real style that he could use. For the past year Naruto was trying to create a fighting style that was agile, fast-moving and hard-hitting where he would use not only his fists and feet, but also his elbows and knees. He would use fast-moving hits, jabs and kicks to confuse his opponents and keep them off balance, and at the same time use his natural agility to dodge or avoid his opponent's attacks. He would also use variations of powerful knee strikes, elbow strikes, punches and kicks with his super strength to break or crush different parts of his opponent's bones with a single hit. Thanks to his medical training from Shizune, Naruto knew what parts of the body were sensitive to hits and what parts of the body could cause the most pain to a person. He even trained himself to use several different locks on people that would cause even more pain to them and keep hold of them. Although Naruto had made good progress in developing and creating his new style of fighting, he knew that he was still a long way away from fully developing it. After a few hours Naruto had decided that he head back to his family temporary home and make some lunch. As he traveled he soon felt 2 very powerful chakra signatures and 3 minor ones coming not far from where he was. Judging by how strong they were, Naruto figured they were shinobi since they were too high to be to ordinary people. Not recognizing them Naruto decided to go investigate them and see who they were. After about 10 minutes, Naruto finally came up to where he felt the chakra signatures. The people he felt were camped in a small clearing with a fire pit in the middle and several sleeping bags around it. The 5 people he had sensed were in the clearing. 4 of them were kids who looked to be about his age, if not slightly older. 3 of the kids were girls while the other was a boy. The 5th person was a large dark-skinned man who he saw talking to the kids. When Naruto saw the group his thoughts on them being shinobi was confirmed by the way they were dressed. One of the girls was the same dark skin color as the older man. She had dark red hair that reached down to her shoulder blades and with a bandana on her head. She had golden eyes with small round golden earrings. She wore a gray top, a long black skirt with black shinobi pants underneath it and sandals. She also had a long katana on her back. Another girl was pale skin and had short blonde hair just around her chin. She had blue eyes and wore a short revealing skirt with a gray shirt and a slight midriff showing that she wore a fishnet shirt underneath it. Her appearance also showed she was already at the stage where her breasts were developing well and her body was also starting to become curvy, showing that in a couple of years' time the girl would be a real knockout. Also, like the red-haired girl, the blonde girl had a long katana on her back. The third girl had long blonde hair that was tied up in a ponytail that reached down her back. She had dark eyes that were cat-like shaped and was almost as curvy as the other blonde girl and was only starting to develop. She wore grey shinobi pants with a black short sleeve top with fishnet shirt underneath it and wore black fingerless gloves and grey sandals with leg guards. Like the other two girls, she also carried a long katana on her back. The boy was dark-skinned with spiky white hair. He had a grey baggy hoodie with black shinobi pants and sandals and also wore fingerless red teku. Naruto also saw him sucking on a lollipop. Like the girls, the boy also carried a long katana on her back. The dark-skinned man, who was clearly the kid's sensei, possessed a muscular build, as well as white hair and beard. On his right shoulder, he had a tattoo that says, Iron, and on his left cheek, he had a tattoo of a bull's horn. He wore oval-shaped sunglasses and a white-colored forehead protector. He also wore a white-colored one-strap over one shoulder flak jacket for a jonin, with a red rope tied around his waist, white handbands, and a white scarf around his neck, and carried 7 swords on his back. When Naruto saw the symbols of the headband on the group's heads, he knew that the group was from Kumo, since he had learned all the symbols of the current shinobi villages by heart after the Amnin incident. Since he wanted to know more about the shinobi world, where should another incident like what happened in Oni no Kuni happen again, he would at least know what caliber of shinobi he would be up against. Naruto could also sense the stronger of the 2 chakra signatures that he had sense was coming from the sensei, while the other was coming from the blonde girl with the ponytail. This of course surprised Naruto. Even though he knew that some people would be naturally born with high chakra levels, he did not expect as much as what he was sensing from the girl. As he watched them, Naruto saw the sensei taking out one of his swords and then have the boy come forward and take out his own katana. Although Naruto could not hear them, it was obvious that they were having a spar while the girls watched and no doubt waited for their turn to spar with their sensei. As he watched the boy and his sensei spar, Naruto could not help but be impressed by how well the boy fought with his sword. Although it was obvious that the sensei wasn't going all out and was only really playing with him, it was still interesting to watch. Soon enough, Naruto watched the short-haired blonde girl and the red-haired girl each take their turns to spar against their sensei, after the red girl was defeated. Naruto's curiosity got the better of him and he decided to move closer so he could watch them better and hear what they were saying. Carefully, Naruto snuck through the trees around the group and moved closer to the group. From his new spot that was closer to the group, Naruto could fully see what they were doing and now hear what they were saying. Nice move there, little Yugito, the man said as he blocked her sword strike. HPMH, the girl named Yugito replied as she glared at her sensei and got her sword ready to strike again. But before she could move, the sensei quickly put up his hand to signal her to stop. Hold on, little kitty, I just thought up a good rhyme, the man said. He then took out a notebook and pencil and began to write down something. Sensei, this is no time for you to write down one of your stupid rhymes, and I thought I told you not to call me that, Yugito yelled angrily. Hey, don't diss the rhyming of Rhyme Master B, the man replied as he looked up at the blonde girl. I'll diss them all I want when they interfere with my training, and besides I'm getting pretty sick of, Yugito replied angrily, but stopped when her sensei suddenly threw his pencil, which was covered in lightning chakra. The pencil flew right past her with incredible speed and went through some bushes behind her. After the man threw the lightning-enhanced pencil, Naruto jumped out of the bushes to avoid it, where it then went through the space that his head was in a moment ago. But even as he avoided the projectile, the pencil cut his left cheek slightly and then went through 2 tree trunks before it fell to the ground, much to Naruto's shock. But when he jumped out of the way of the lightning-enhanced pencil, he had also revealed himself to Yugito and the other Kumo Shinobi. I spy with my little eye, some stupid fool, spying on eye, the man said in a bad rhyme when Naruto jumped out of the bushes. When Naruto realized that he had revealed himself to the Kumo team, he quickly ran off into the forest. Who the hell was that? The dark-skinned red-headed girl asked. I do not know, but we should go after him and capture him. He may be a spy for another village, said the short-haired blonde girl. Samui is right, we need to go after him now, Yugito said. Where's she? The girl known now as Samui and the other 2 students went after Naruto, leaving their sensei alone, who just sighed and went after his students to make sure that nothing would happen to them. With Naruto and the Kumo students. As Naruto ran through the forest, he cursed himself for the 10th time about being so curious and not leaving well enough alone, while at the same time wondered how he kept getting himself into these kinds of messes. Naruto continued to run through the forest until he suddenly forced to stop, when several shurikens were thrown in front of him. As soon as he stopped, he found himself surrounded by the 4 students with their swords drawn. "He's just a kid," the dark-skinned red-headed girl said. "Hey, who are you calling just a kid?" Naruto angrily said, as he didn't like being called that by a girl who was about the same age as him. "Forget it, now come with us peacefully and you won't be hurt, we have some questions for you," the boy said. "Let's not," Naruto said as he dropped several small flash smoke bombs on the ground, causing a bright flash and the area around him to be filled with smoke. "Cough, cough, cough, he used a flash smoke bombs on us, cough," the boy croaked. "It's not only that, cough, cough, he also must have mixed some pepper powder into the smoke bomb so to blind us," Sammy croaked as her eyes and throat were burning from the pepper powder. Soon after, the 4 Kumo genin got out of the smoke-filled area and used the water from their canteens to wash away the power from their eyes. Once the pepper powder was out of their eyes, the boy quickly looked around the ground for any tracks that Naruto may have left. When he looked, he saw several different tracks leading in different directions. "Which way did he go, Omoi?" asked Yugito. "I can't tell, seemingly there are at least 4 different tracks leading in 4 different directions. My guess is he created clones when he used those flash smoke pepper bombs and had them go in different directions so to confuse us. It's a smart move, since if we all follow one, we have a 1 in 4 chance of picking the right one, and if we split up into pairs, we have a 1 in 2 chance of picking the right one, and if we each split up and each chase after one of us will go after the real one while the other 3 chase after the clones," the boy named Omoi said as he looked to the tracks on the ground. "That is probably what he wants, since we would be separated from one another and will be unable to use our numbers to our advantage. Since the one who picks him would have to fight him by themselves without the rest of us to help him," we answered. "We have no other choice, we can't let him get away, he's clearly a shinobi as he has the training," Yugito replied. "So who goes where?" the red-haired girl asked. "Simui, you go follow the one that's gone west, Omoi, you go follow the one that's headed north, Karui, you go follow the one that's heading northwest. I'll follow the one that's going east," Yugito said, where the rest of her team nodded and went after their target. With Karui, after about 15 minutes of tracking her target, Karui soon caught sight of her target. As she chased after him, she heard Yugito on the radio. "Cat to fiery red, sucker and cold blonde, come in guys, over. I'm here, over," Omoi replied over the radio. "Cold blonde here, go ahead cat, over," Simui replied over the radio. "Fiery red here, over," Karui answered. "I've just taken care of the one that I was following. He was a clone, but was not like any kind of clone I've seen before. When I destroyed him, it didn't turn into mud, water or lightning, yet he was solid, over," Yugito said. "That's troubling, maybe he knows some kind of new super cloning technique that we haven't heard of. Maybe we should fall back, this guy could be a powerful shinobi that is as strong as Sensei, over," Omoi replied. "Don't be an idiot sucker, no one is stronger than Sensei, not even the Reikage, and besides he's just a kid, we can take him, besides I see my target now, over," Karui said. "Don't underestimate him, fiery red, he's already tricked us once before, he could do it again, over," Simui warned over the radio. "I'll be fine, I call you guys back in a few minutes to tell you if it's the real him or not, over and out," Karui answered. As Karui chased after her target, she took out a few kunai and threw them at him. The kunai missed him. But as he dodged them, her target lost his balance and fell off the branch he was on and slipped, causing him to the ground hard. Seeing this, Karui quickly jumped down to the ground and went over to her target to see if her target was the real Naruto. As she moved closer, the Naruto in front of her remained still with his eyes closed and his face to the ground. "Huh. Guess you're not so tough after all. But then, that's what you get when you deal with a shinobi of Kumogaku, the hidden cloud," Karui said with a smirk. Karui was so confident of herself, that when she walked over to him to see if he was the real Naruto or not, she failed to notice the fresh pile of green leaves on the ground near her target and stood on them, activating a rope snare that would have pulled her up to a tree. Fortunately for Karui, she was able to react quickly and flip backwards to avoid the trap. But once she landed, she found that she had landed on a tripwire that activated another trap where two large tree logs came out of the tree line on her left and right sides and were about to collide into her. Acting quickly, Karui narrowly dodged the tree logs by rolling forward when they collided with one another. Unfortunately, when Karui rolled forward, she rolled over another tripwire that activated another trap, where a steel wire net that was hidden under a genjutsu sprung from underneath her and lifted her up into the trees. As she hung from a tree in the net, Karui struggled to get free, but the net was too strong for her to break. She then went to try and cut herself free from the net with a kunai, but when she went to her pouch she couldn't find it. She then looked around for it and saw it on the ground below her. It was then that Naruto stood up and went over and picked up her pouch and then looked up to her with a cheeky smirk that infuriated her. First rule of being a shinobi: never let your opponent get the drop on you, Naruto said with a smirk and then walked away. But not before turning around again and thanking Karui for the extra gear, after which he ran into the tree line, where he could hear Karu's screams of anger and rage, swearing she would kill him. Once Karui calmed down a little, she quickly got onto her radio. Fiery Red to Cat, Cold Blonde and Sucker, over, Karui spoke. Cat here, go ahead Fiery Red, Yugito replied. I hear you Fiery Red, Omoi answered. Cold Blonde here, what is it Fiery Red? Was your target the real one? Simui asked. Yeah, I'm pretty certain that my target was him, but he got away, Karui replied angrily. How? Asked Yugito. He tricked me and caught me in a trap, Karui answered angrily as she was humiliated at being tricked so easily. We told you not to underestimate him, but you didn't listen to us, Omoi said over the radio. Shut up you idiot, Karui shouted furiously as she was red with humiliation and anger. I'm the idiot. I wasn't the one that got tricked and is now trapped somewhere, Omoi replied calmly. Before Karui could respond, Yugito suddenly shouted into the radio. Both of you shut up, this isn't the time for your petty bickering. Cat is right, we need to capture him. Fiery Red, which direction did he go? Over, Simui asked. He's still heading northwest, over, Karui replied. Right then, Sucker, Cold Blonde, both of you head in his direction and try and head him off and capture him. I'll try and catch up with you as soon as possible. Fiery Red. Once we have captured him, we'll come back and free you, so hang tight, over, Yugito said. Roger, Simui said. Roger, Omoi replied. Roger, Karui grumbled as there was little she could do other than hang when in the net. Once she finished talking, she tried to make herself as comfortable as possible until her teammates came to help her. As she did, she muttered several different painful things that she would do to a certain blonde-hair boy when she saw him again. With Naruto, as Naruto ran through the forest, he could not help but be pleased with himself. He had taken care of the Kumo genin chasing after him, while the other two were still chasing his shadow clones, and even though the fourth member had taken out the clone she was chasing, she was still too far away to catch up to him. Just when Naruto thought he was in the clear, his mother's training came into effect where his senses warned him of danger. The next second, Naruto was hit in the back by a dozen or so shuriken that had been thrown by Omoi a few meters behind him. But just after the shuriken hit him, Naruto turned into a wooden log. When Omoi saw this, he frowned, since he knew Naruto had used a Kawarimi no Jutsu body replacement technique to replace himself with a wooden log. He also knew that he had now lost the advantage as he had given away his position, while Naruto was now somewhere hidden in the trees. Realizing that he was now at a disadvantage, Omoi drew his katana and cautiously moved through the trees, looking for the blonde, while at the same time keeping his guard up. As he looked around, his shinobi senses quickly kicked in as he quickly spun around and deflected several shuriken that were thrown from behind him. Before Omoi could retaliate, he suddenly saw Naruto appear to his left with his kunai in hand, leaping towards him. Seeing Naruto, Omoi quickly brought up his katana and blocked the attack. He then pushed Naruto back, making him lose his balance. Taking advantage of this, Omoi then slashed at Naruto with his katana. As soon as Omoi slashed Naruto with his katana, Naruto puffed into smoke, revealing it to be a shadow clone. What the, thought Omoi when the clone exploded, but before he could fully realize what had happened, several small spherical objects fell from above and exploded, releasing a sleeping gas and knocking out Omoi. Before he fell asleep, Omoi looked up and saw the real Naruto standing from a tree branch above him. Realizing what had happened, and that it was already too late to do anything, Omoi could only think of one word: damn. When Omoi lost consciousness, he fell off the tree branch he was on, but before he hit the ground, Naruto jumped off the branch he was on and caught the Kumo Genin. Since all he wanted to do was get away, didn't want to hurt anyone. Once he laid Omoi on the ground, he then ran off in case the others showed up. As he made his way through the forest, Naruto silently thanked his mother for teaching him to make sleeping gas bombs as well as the sleep gas itself, since it had come in quite handy for taking Omoi out without hurting him. Unfortunately, Naruto did not get very far. His danger sense kicked in again, where he had to duck several kuna thrown at him from his left-hand side. When he turned, he saw Tsuande on a tree branch several meters away, where she then leapt forward with her katana. Quickly dodging several slashes from Tsuande's katana, Naruto used another smoke bomb to cover the area he was in, giving himself a chance to get away from Tsuande and think about what to do next. When Tsuande got out of the smoke-filled area, she quickly took a defensive stance with her katana out and ready to block or deflect any kind of attack that Naruto may do. Suddenly from Tsuande's right, Naruto appeared on a nearby branch and threw several kunai at her. Wasting no time, Tsuande turned around and deflected the kunai with her katana. In a feat of impressive skill, she then grabbed one of the kunai she had deflected and threw it back at Naruto, hitting him right between the eyes, before he could move away. When Naruto was hit by the kunai, he exploded into a puff of smoke, revealing that the Naruto she had been fighting with was a clone. Using the clone as a distraction, the real Naruto moved around Tsuande and attempted to sneak up on her and take her out quickly. Unfortunately though for Naruto, after destroying the clone, Tsuande had realized what he was doing and twirled around to face him, and slashed at her fellow blonde with her katana. Luckily Naruto was able to avoid her slash, but was forced on the defensive, so Tsuande chased after him. As Tsuande chased after Naruto, the blonde boy quickly found himself having to put a good deal more effort into his dodging Tsuande's attack. Since he knew that if he didn't, the blonde girl would skewer him or cut up into little pieces. But because his attention on the blonde-hair girl had increased, his attention to his surroundings decreased, so he didn't see the large rock that he was quickly backing towards until he stepped half on it and lost his footing. Seeing her chance, Tsuande leapt forward with her blade already descending upon the boy. In a desperate attempt at self-preservation, Naruto's left hand shot out and managed to catch the girl's wrist, and with a quick twist of his own wrist, he managed to get her to drop the katana. However, that movement also served to pull Tsuande towards him, sending both of them rolling across the ground in a mass of flying limbs before finally coming to a stop, one that ended with them being in a rather awkward position. Naruto's left hand was still holding onto Tsuande's right wrist, pinning it to the ground above her head, while Naruto's own right hand had ended up between the girl's left arm and her body, touching her chest. Naruto's right leg had come to rest between the girl's thighs in a very intimate fashion, leaving his left leg as the only thing really keeping their pelvises apart from each other. It took a moment or two for the two to catch their breaths as they were both panting heavily with a slight bead of sweat falling down their brows from fighting only moments ago, and both of them were staring at each other's blue eyes intently. Soon enough they both realized the awkward situation they were in, where they each had their own separate reaction. Naruto's cheeks started to blush red when he realized the intimate position he was in with Tsuande. But despite the situation, he silently thanked whatever deity he could think of, that his godfather and mother weren't here to see this. Since if Jiraiya saw Naruto being in this kind of position with another member of the opposite sex, he would never let the blonde boy hear the end of it. His mother, on the other hand, would most likely have gone postal on him and Tsuande if she saw this, if not do something worse. Tsuande, on the other hand, kept cool, calm and emotional look on her face, despite the position she found herself in with Naruto. Although this only lasted a few seconds, where her facade quickly broke and a look of absolute rage and anger appeared on her face and a dangerous look was in her eyes. A look that Naruto was very familiar with from the many times he had seen it on his mother when Jiraiya said or did something perverted, which would result in her beating him into next week for it. It was then that Tsuande completely lost her cool and screamed, "You pervert." She then kicked Naruto off her, who flipped backwards as she kicked him, so that he would land of his feet. But as soon as he did, Tsuande got up and charged forward in full feminine rage and slashed the male blonde with her katana again, but this time much faster and much more deadly than before, giving him little opportunity to do anything other than dodge her attacks. Shit. I need to do something quick or else she might actually kill me, a concerned Naruto thought as he continued to avoid Tsuande's deadly slashes. As Naruto ducked one of Tsuande's slashes, he kicked away her legs, causing her to fall on her back, which gave Naruto a chance to jump away. He then rolled up his jacket sleeve to reveal a senbon launcher on his arm that Shizune and gave him the cried out Shikomashinden prepared needle shot, firing 5 senbon needles at once at Tsuande. The needles were loaded with a toxin that Shizune taught Naruto to make that would paralyze his target and then knock him out a few minutes later. Seeing the needles, Tsuande skillfully deflected them with her katana, but as soon as she did, Naruto was gone, as the needles were a distraction, giving Naruto a chance to hidden plan. Realizing what Naruto had done, Tsuande fell into a defensive stance and readied herself for any sneak attack that Naruto would make. After a minute or so, she suddenly saw several shuriken flying towards her from her right. But when she deflected them, she felt a sharp pain at the side of her legs and the side of her arms, where they then went numb and she collapsed. When she looked down at her legs, she saw several senbon needles stuck in her legs and realized that she had been duped again and guessed that the senbon needles were coated with some kind of numbing toxin. As she lay there unable to move her arms or legs, Naruto appeared above her, holding a small spherical object. He then brought the object to her nose and crushed it, which released a gas that knocked her out within a second of inhaling it. Before Tsuande fell unconscious, she heard Naruto say, "Sorry." Once Tsuande was out, Naruto brought her over to a nearby tree and left her there, knowing that she would waken up after a little while but would be still unable to move for a bit longer thanks to the toxin he used in his senbon needles. For about 15 minutes Naruto ran through the forest, but just when he thought he was home free, an angry Yugito suddenly appeared in front of him. Crap, Naruto thought as stop. This is as far as you go. You may have taken out my teammates, but you will find that I am not as easily defeated as they were, Yugito said. But if you give up now, you won't be hurt. Thanks, but no thanks, giving up isn't in my vocabulary. Fine by me, it's your funeral, Yugito replied as she got into her fighting stance with her katana. Don't underestimate the boy kitten. Although he is young, he is quite skilled to take out all your other teammates by himself without seriously hurting them. Also, I feel a strange power coming from him, one that is familiar yet different, the Nibi said in Yugito's mind. What power are you talking about? There's nothing special about him, he's just a kid from some enemy village, Yugito replied in her mind. As I said, I'm not really sure. All that I know is that as I look at this boy through your mind, I sense a strange yet familiar power coming from him. One that I have not felt in many years, the Nibi answered. Then what is this power you're feeling? Yugito asked. I do not know, the power is just familiar in a way, yet at the same time it is different. I can't explain it and I can't remember where I felt this kind of power before. All I know for certain is that it was long ago, answered Nibi. Well, that's great, Nibi, thanks for nothing, Yugito said with a scowl, as the Nibi's advice was useless if she didn't know what she was up against. Sorry, kitten, but still just be on your guard with him, the monster cat replied. Fine. Soon after, Yugito made the first move and charged forward with her katana. Naruto quickly blocked it with his kunai, which he had taken out when Yugito drew out her katana. For several minutes the two of them traded blows with one another until they came to a deadlock where Naruto's kunai went against Yugito's katana in a struggle for dominance. You're pretty good for a kid, Yugito grunted as she tried to overpower Naruto. I could say the same thing about you, since you're pretty good for a girl, Naruto replied with a smirk, which in turn infuriated Yugito, since she despised comments like that. She then pushed Naruto back and tried to slash him with her katana, but Naruto flipped backwards to avoid the slash and then threw several kunai at her. Yugito quickly deflected the kunai, but in the angry state she was in, she could not focus correctly and missed two, where one scratched her left hip leg and the other scratched her right arm. Ignore that scratch as she charged straight at Naruto with her katana. Naruto tried to block with his one remaining kunai, but Yugito quickly deflected the kunai with her sword and slashed at Naruto. But as soon as she slashed at Naruto, he turned into a log, revealing he had used a Kawarimi no Jutsu. As soon as she realized this, Yugito suddenly felt her right arm go numb as well as her left leg. As she felt her arm and leg go numb, Yugito quickly realized that the kunai that had scratched her had been coated with a nerve toxin to make her arms go numb. When she realized this, she began to curse herself for getting angry and losing focus. It was after this that she then saw Naruto coming behind her with a kunai and was about to stab her in the back with it. Seeing this, Yugito quickly twirled around on her good leg to avoid the attack, and as he went by her, she slashed at his back. But as soon as she did, Naruto turned in a puff of smoke, revealing to be a clone. It was when she realized this that she felt a pair of hands grabs onto her legs and pull her down onto the ground, where only her head could be seen above ground. Yugito tried to move but could not, as the nerve toxin had quickly spread through her body and the ground was too tight against her that she could not move enough to dig herself out. It was right then that she found Naruto standing right above her, looking down at her with an annoying smirk on his face which infuriated her to no end. "What the hell did you do to me?" Yugito growled as she glared up at Naruto. Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Earth Style, Double Suicide Decapitation. It's a very useful technique that pulls down a person, so that only their head is above ground, where they are unable to move, and I can do anything I like to them, but luckily for you I won't, since I don't want to. So if you excuse me now, I have to go, but it was fun playing around with you guys. We should do it again some other time. See ya, little kitty, Naruto said, as he walked away and waved goodbye to her and saying the nickname he heard her sensei call her, which further infuriated the girl at being so humiliated by him. "I told you, kitty, not to underestimate him," the Nibi said to Yugito. "Can it, Nibi? I don't need to hear this now. I need you to give me some of your chakra now so I can get out of here," Yugito said. "Kitten, you're not ready to handle my chakra yet. You could go out of control with it," the Nibi warned. "I can handle it, Nibi. Now let me have it so that I can get him," Yugito replied angrily. "Very well, kitten, but you have been warned," the Nibi said as she sent some of her chakra to Yugito. As Naruto walked away from Yugito, he suddenly felt a large menacing surge of chakra coming from behind him. When he turned around, he saw it was coming from Yugito. After which a massive explosion of chakra erupted from her, causing earth to be thrown all around and dust cover the area. When the dust settled and cleared, Naruto saw Yugito back above the ground on all fours and covered in a cloak of red chakra that was in the shape of a car with a single tail made out of chakra behind her. While the irises of her eyes were now yellow and cat-like and her fingernails grew longer and sharper, making her hands claw-like. What the hell? Naruto thought before he saw Yugito charged forward at him. Naruto barely dodged Yugito's attack by jumping to the side. He then quickly made several shadow clones. The 3 shadow clones then surrounded her and threw several kunai at her, but before the kunai could hit her, Yugito let out a massive roar where a massive pulse wave of chakra erupted from her and blew away the kunai and destroyed the clones in one go. It also blasted Naruto several feet away and caused a large dust cloud to cover the area at the same time. What the hell is going on? What kind of power is this? It isn't normal chakra, it feels dark and menacing, Naruto thought as he skidded on the ground. Once he regained his footing, a long red arm made out of chakra came out of the dust cloud and tried to grab Naruto. Fortunately, Naruto was able to jump away into a nearby tree to avoid the arm. "Shit. I need to think of something fast now before she kills me," Naruto thought as he tried to come up with a plan. He knew he couldn't use any of his more powerful jutsu, since if he did and he defeated Yugito with them, she would tell her sensei and her teammates what he did, once she woke up. That would then attract even more attention on him, since he was already using Kage Bushin, which could cause a big enough scene as it is. It would be even worse if he tried to use his Mokuton powers on her to subdue her, where they would start looking for him and his family and hunt him down. As he moved through the forest to keep his distance from Yugito, he was forced to jump out of the tree he was in to avoid another of Yugito's, who appeared and destroyed the tree he was in a moment ago and destroyed it. Yugito was currently running wild, where she lost complete control of herself thanks to the Nibi chakra. She was unable to handle and control the Bijuu chakra, just as the Nibi had feared, and was just attacking Naruto on pure animals. After a few minutes of dodging and trying to keep Yugito from killing him, Naruto decided to throw caution to the wind, since if he didn't do something soon, she would kill him. So when Yugito tried to slash him with her claws again, Naruto quickly used a Kawarimi no Jutsu to replace himself with a clone he made earlier, where as soon as she destroyed it, the real Naruto snuck up behind her and placed a small note on the back of her neck. The note had a chakra-suppressing seal on it, which Naruto had drawn. Jiraiya had taught Naruto how to make such a seal in case he needed it to subdue someone and keep them from using their chakra. Naruto hoped that the seal would disrupt the strange chakra Yugito was using and stop her. Once the seal was placed on her, it began to work as Yugito collapsed onto her knees and the red chakra started to dissipate, but just when Naruto thought it was over, Yugito suddenly let out another massive roar and another massive blast of chakra erupted from her and blasted Naruto back to a few trees away. Once the blast ended, Naruto saw Yugito back on all fours again and with the cat-shaped cloak of chakra around her again. When Naruto saw this, he knew his seal had failed, as Yugito's strange chakra was too strong and potent to be suppressed by his seal. When Yugito locked eyes on Naruto, she let out another large roar and charged at him. Knowing he had to move, Naruto quickly jumped away and started to run again, trying to think of a new plan to deal with Yugito. For the next 2 minutes, Naruto jumped from treetop to avoiding each of Yugito's attacks. It was just when Yugito had destroyed her 12th tree, she found herself surrounded by a dozen Narutos on all sides who attacked her. It of course didn't take her long to deal with the clones, and once she had destroyed all of them, she began to search for the real Naruto and found him within a few seconds, not far from where she was. She then charged forward at him at breakneck speed, but just as she was a few feet away from him, 4 trees that surrounded her blew up with her in the middle of it. What Yugito had not known was that as she was battling the Naruto clones, Naruto had used Fubaku Hojin sealed bomb square release technique, where he planted 4 exploding notes on 4 trees and then lured Yugito to where he wanted her to go, by allowing her to see him. So that as soon as she entered the area with the notes around it and tried to leave it, the notes exploded, destroying everything in between the 4 trees. Once the smoke cleared from the explosion, Naruto saw the remains of the trees all over the area. When Naruto saw the tree trunks all over the area and could not see Yugito, he was about to go over and move the trees to find her, fearing that he might have killed her. But before he could, he felt another massive surge of chakra and the remains of the trees were blown away by a massive blast of chakra. Once the smoke dissipated, Naruto saw Yugito in the middle of the now destroyed area, but she was now sitting up on all fours hunched like a cat, while the red chakra was starting to dissipate. The chakra outline only remained around her upper torso and arms, although the chakra outline was very thin. When Naruto saw her standing up with the red chakra around her and saw that her irises were still cat-like and yellow, he knew that it wasn't over just yet. Knowing that she could recall her strange chakra again to full power, Naruto decided to finish the fight before it could start again. He then quickly deactivated the seal weights on his clothes and raced forward at Yugito with impressive speed. He then threw several senbon needles at certain parts of her legs and arms to disable her for a few seconds. After which he quickly came up behind her and did several hand seals and activated his chakra no mesu chakra scalpels, where he then severed her nerves at the back joint of her right legs and did the same on her arms. This caused Yugito to collapse on the ground, unable to move with her nerves severed. When Naruto saw Yugito fall to the ground and unable to move her arms or legs, he thought he had finally finished the fight. That was until the red chakra she had been summoning came back and covered her whole body again, where it began to heal her and saw her beginning to move her arms and legs and lifting herself up. Come on. What the hell is with this girl? What does it take to knock her out already? She just doesn't give up, a annoyed Naruto thought. As he was tired, sore, bruised and his clothes were torn up and filthy. Quickly bending down to Yugito, who was now only just starting to get up, Naruto gave her a quick hard chop to the neck and knocked her out cold, before she could even fully call on her strange power. Once he was certain that Yugito was finally out cold, Naruto let out a tired sigh. Damn, I didn't think she'd be this hard to beat. He then picked Yugito up and checked her for any serious injuries. Fortunately there were none, since the red chakra cloak seemingly protected her from any real harm. When he had finished checking Yugito over, Naruto could not help but notice that Yugito was quite cute as she slept, or knocked if you wanted to get technical. But as soon as that thought entered his mind, Naruto quickly brushed that thought away, fearing that his godfather's influence was starting to take an effect on him and he was becoming a pervert like him. Once he was certain Yugito was okay, he left her against a tree and left her there so that her friends could find her easily or she could make her way back to her camp. Just when Naruto was about to leave and get back home, he suddenly heard hands clapping and a male voice speaking up. That was a one-beat bottoming, kick-ass, butt-kicking of a show little squirt. I gotta say you got some moves, but still you're no match for the master of rhymes, the king of slam, the bring down of beat down, the melodizer, Lord Eight Tails, Killer Bee, oh yeah. It was then that Naruto turned around and saw Kumo Genin sensei standing up on a nearby branch and seemingly watching his and Yugito's fight. Who the hell are you? Naruto asked as he took a step back from Yugito. Weren't you listening, stupid? I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I'm Killer Bee the eight-tailed beast, yo. The man named Killer Bee replied in a bad rapper impersonation as he moved around in some kind of funny dance. What the hell? Naruto thought as he was weirded out by Killer Bee in the way he was talking to him. Killer Bee then jumped down from the branch and landed in front of Naruto. But as dazzled and as zam as I can't just let you spilt and go after you owned all my students. Shit. What I'm going to do. This guy John and I don't stand a chance against him, a worried Naruto thought as he fell into a fighting stance. He knew that his only chance was to fight and then make a break for it, and even if he couldn't get away, he was at least not going down without a fight. When Killer Bee saw that Naruto was intended to fight, he couldn't but smile, since although he could tell that Naruto was tired from fighting all his students, he could not help but admire Naruto's guts at still willing to fight even though he knew he couldn't win. You got guts, little squirt, but none too bright, Killer Bee replied as he signaled Naruto to come at him, which he did. Naruto attacked Killer Bee with a series of fast and strong jabs and kicks as well as elbows and knee kicks from different angles. As Naruto attacked him, Killer Bee blocked all of his attacks with ease, since although Naruto was very skilled for his age, he was still a novice compared to the Kumo Jinchuriki, who was a highly skilled shinobi with years of training and experience. But even still, Killer Bee was impressed with Naruto's fighting skill, especially his taijutsu, since he had never seen or heard of a style like the one he was using. He could tell that the style involved fast, hard-hitting moves using different parts of Naruto's body, and it worked well with Naruto's natural agility, and it gave Killer Bee little chance to fight back. He could also tell that in a few years' time, with a few more years of training, Naruto's fighting style would be quite deadly with enough training and practice. Killer Bee had also been watching how Naruto handled each of his students and could tell that Naruto was quite skilled in the different ways he had handled Yugito and the others without really harming them. He was especially impressed with how Naruto had fought Yugito, since it wasn't every day that a person saw a 10-year-old kid fight a wild and berserk Jinchuriki and defeat it. Granted, if Yugito had been able to control her power, she would have won, but still for Naruto to have defeated her was nothing short of astonishing, and he wasn't even a fully trained ninja. There had been even times during the fight that Killer Bee thought he would have to intervene and stop Yugito, but in the end he didn't have to. After a little while, Killer Bee decided to end the fight, where he quickly grabbed onto Naruto's shirt and threw him over to a nearby tree, and then quickly took out 3 of his katanas and threw them at Naruto as soon as he hit the tree. The katanas then hit the collar of Naruto's gray jacket and its sleeves so that the 3 katanas would pin him against the tree and he would be unable to move. Why don't you hang around while I go wake up little kitty from her cat nap? Killer Bee said as Naruto tried to struggle out of the katanas. Once Killer Bee woke Yugito up with some smelling salt, he told her to watch over Naruto, while he went to free and wake Omo and the others. While Killer Bee went to free her teammates, Yugito watched over Naruto, who had given up trying to get free of the katanas. As Yugito watched over Naruto, the young kunoichi glared at Naruto as she was in a bad mood over how Naruto defeated her, not once but twice. The first time because she had underestimated his skill, while the second time because she overestimated her own skill. It also didn't help that the Nibi was also telling her in her mind over and over again about how she told her so about underestimating Naruto and overestimated herself. As Naruto was pinned to the tree, he thought about his situation and what he should do. He knew he could get free if he used his superhuman strength. But if he did, he knew Yugito would attack him, and she had already proven to be a dangerous opponent to fight against, and even if he went all out and defeated her quickly, her sensei and teammates would sense the chakra from the battle and come to her aid and overwhelm him. Not to mention it would blow his cover, where they would report him to their village and they would in turn track him and his family down. The same could be said if he used the seal to call for help from his mother, since if she came they could find out who she really was and in turn find out that he was her son, ruining the low profile that they've been keeping all these years. Although that's if they survived his mother's wrath, since Shizune had told him a while back what his mother did to the Amnins that had attacked him and Shion. As well as what happened to Shuda once High Priestess Miraku had gotten everything from him. She allowed his mother to deal with him, where according to what he had heard, the prison cell had a new color scheme on the ceiling, floor and walls, the color red, and Naruto wanted to avoid needless bloodshed. Hence Naruto knew that his best chance to get away without anyone getting hurt was to give them a convincing enough story to prove that he wasn't a threat to them and that they could let him go. In the event that idea didn't work, then they would most likely try and take him back to their village for questioning, where he would use his superhuman strength to break out of his bindings and sneak away. And if they tried to kill him, then he would go all out and try and escape and call for help from his mother with the seal earring and worry about the consequences later. After a little while, Killer Bee returned with Omoi, Simui and Karui, where when they arrived, Karui and Simui glared at the young Senju, over what happened when he fought them. Once they arrived, Killer Bee removed the katanas from Naruto's jacket, freeing him. Once Naruto was free, they all surrounded him. Okay, little squirt, let's hear it and tell us the beef, yo, spoke Killer Bee. What? Naruto asked, who didn't understand what Killer Bee was saying because of his bad rapping. At this, Omoi just sighed and decided to translate for Naruto, since it wasn't uncommon for people to be unable to understand his sensei due to his bad rapping and rhyming. He was asking, who are you and why were you spying on us? My name is Naruto, replied the blonde, and I wasn't spying, I was only looking, since I sensed two large chakra signatures nearby when I was training and I decided to see who it was. Yeah right, Karui scoffed, not believing Naruto. It's true, Naruto replied angrily, since he didn't like being called a liar when he wasn't. Okay fine, let's say we do believe you, then tell us, where do you come from, what shinobi village are you with, Yugito asked. I'm not from a shinobi village, and answered Naruto, since technically it was true since he wasn't official with any shinobi village. See, he's lying to us, Karui accused as she pointed at Naruto. I'm not lying, Naruto said angrily while he glared at Karui, who glared back at him. If you are not from a shinobi village, then how is it that you are able to do ninjutsu, and how is it that you are able to move and fight like us? The only way you could, is if you had shinobi training like us, Simui said with a neutral face. Try and get out of that one, Karui thought with a triumphant smirk. That's because my mother used to be a shinobi, but retired and left her village after I was born and trained my Oni-san and me, when we were old enough to be trained in the shinobi arts, Naruto answered, since even though it was a lie, it was also half true. And who's your mom's? Killer Bee asked. She the local healer here, my Ka-chan, along with my Oni-san and me, as well as our pet pig Tonton, go with her as she travels around healing people, Naruto answered. Oh come on, you don't believe him, do you? Karui said in disbelief as she didn't believe a word Naruto was saying. I don't know, Karui, I think he might actually be telling the truth, Omoi said. Since when I was getting supplies from the local town, I heard some of the local villagers talking about a female healer that arrived in the village 2 months ago. As well as how she traveled around with her family, a young girl in her mid-20s, a young boy that actually kinds of fits Naruto's description. I also heard that she had a pet pig. I even saw the healer and her daughter distance when she was healing a woman. You can't be serious, they could all be spies sent to either kill us or spy on us. Karui cried in disbelief that her teammates and her sensei were believing Naruto's story. If they were sent to kill us, then why did they just send Naruto? Omoi asked. He could have been a scout to watch us and the report back to them later, Karui replied. Then how did they know we would come here? Since they've been here for 2 months, before Sensei even planned to take us on a training trip, Omoi replied. Karui of course had no answer to that, since there was no way they could have known they would come here. Fine then, but that still doesn't mean he isn't some enemy shinobi, he could be just using a ruse to throw us off, Karui retorted, trying to find reason to prove that Naruto was an enemy and needed to be dealt with. At this, Omoi just sighed and said, weren't you listening? I told you I heard that she had a son who description matches Naruto's, but if you want proof, fine. Omoi then turned to Naruto and asked him to describe them to them, which he did perfectly, 3, which caused Karui to scowl angrily when Omoi confirmed Naruto's description. Very well then, if it is true that your mother is a traveling healer, then tell us, what village did she come from? Simui asked, as like Karui she wasn't fully convinced by Naruto's story. Since I find it strange that any shinobi village would allow one of their shinobi to simply retire and leave with her family. This caused Karui to smile at having some support and believing that she had Naruto caught now. My mother came from Yugakur no Sato village hidden in hot water, since the village has disarmed itself several years ago to become a hot spring resort and they don't need or want any ninjas anymore. When that happened, my mother left the village since she used to be a medic nin and her skill weren't really needed there anymore. So she decided to travel around offering her skill to people, Naruto lied. When Karui heard this she scowled, believing that Naruto had just slipped out of that one, which was true. At the same time Naruto silently congratulated himself on thinking up such a good and believable story on the spot, since he had remembered when he studied the different shinobi villages. That a few years back, not too long after the end of the Third Shinobi World War, Yugakure began to disarm itself as a shinobi village and became a hot spring resort thanks to the large number of hot springs there. The story was so believable that Killer Bee and even Samui and Omoi believed it since they knew all about Yugakure and how it wasn't really a shinobi village anymore, so it would make sense for its remaining shinobi to leave it and search new employment. Fine then, if you are really the son of a former medic nin then she must have taught you some medical ninjutsu, Yugito said. Yea she did, then prove who you say you are by healing the wounds you gave Samui and me, Yugito said to see if he really was just the son of a healer. Fine I will, answered Naruto, where he then began healing the small wounds that he had given Samui and Yugito with little trouble. After he was done, he had pretty much convinced Killer Bee, Omoi as well as Samui and Yugito, since the way he healed them without any trouble proved that he was a skilled healer. The only person that wasn't convinced was Karui, who still held a grudge against Naruto for defeating her and capturing her in such a humiliating manner. Okay then Squirt, you answered what for, but now spill on how you do Kage Bushin and use a sealing technique yo, Killer Bee asked, which got a confused look from both Naruto and his students. He then explained that the Kage Bushin was a forbidden B-rank clone jutsu that Jonins were only supposed to know and that it was real and didn't rely on an elemental affinity. He then told him that he saw Naruto use a seal to disrupt the Yugito chakra for a few moments. When Karui heard this she thought that they had finally caught Naruto out and proven he was a liar. Thinking quickly Naruto told him that his mother had given him the seal in case he was in danger and needed something to help him if he was in a fighting against a missing nin. He then went on to explain the reason he knew the Kage Bushin was because his mother taught him it. He told him that she taught him it since she knew he had large chakra reverses and could handle creating several clones. Thankfully Killer Bee and the others, except for Karui, believed his excuse since it was possible considering how well Naruto had fought and lasted against them. But still Karui wasn't about to give up and came up with another reason to not trust Naruto. Fine, but still why were you watching us? If you're really not a shinobi from another village like you claim, then why would you spy on us? I told you when I was training by myself in the forest I felt your chakra signatures and I was curious as to who you were, that's all, Naruto replied. And why were you training in the forest by yourself? Samui asked. I sometimes like to train by myself, Naruto said simply. But that still doesn't explain why you were watching us. If you were just curious then you would have just left as soon you had seen us, Yugito said. Alright fine, I was also curious as to what your sensei was teaching, since I never see kenjutsu before except from what I read in books. So when I saw what you were all doing I decided to watch, Naruto answered since it was true as he was interested in kenjutsu. At this Karui just scoffed again, not believing a word of what Naruto said. Well if you what roll with the big dogs then let's bow wow and see what you got wow, said Killer Bee. Sensei you can't be serious, Karui cried in disbelief while the rest of her teammates including Samui looked surprised. What did he just say? Asked Naruto, not understanding Killer Bee bad rapping. Why not? The kid got style, he got pizzazz, and gusto to match yo, and he totally ponned all of you, Killer Bee replied with a cheesy smirk while he did his rap dance, which annoyed his students for reminding them of the defeats and because of his stupid rhymes and rapping. Can someone please tell me what you're all talking about as I can barely understand what he is saying, asked a annoyed Naruto. Sensei just said that if you're interested in kenjutsu and if you want to learn then you can train with us if you want and that is if you can keep up, Yugito answered. Who could still not believe that her sensei was allowing a boy whom they had just met and knew little to nothing about to train with them. Sensei you can be serious. We can't just let him join us, and besides what if there's some kind of plot to kill us and what if he's lying? We don't know anything about this kid, Karui said angrily. Hey don't call me just a kid, I'm not that much younger than you, 5, besides I was good enough to beat all of you. Also I wasn't the one who was left hanging up in a tree in a net like a sack of potatoes, Naruto said, and smirked when he saw Karui face turns red from anger and humiliation when she reminded how Naruto defeated her. That still doesn't say you're not lying or trying to trick us, Karui accused. Before Naruto could respond, Killer Bee interrupted him, the squirt doesn't lie, he's not the type, his eyes don't lie and I like his face. Ha, said Naruto as he wasn't sure if Killer Bee was complimenting him or not. He said that he believes you and that you have a trusting face and that you don't seem the type to lie or do something behind another person's back and he kinds of like you, Omoi translated for the blonde boy. Oh, thanks. Oh, alrighty then, let's get this party started and get down to the beat down, said Killer Bee. I'm guessing he's saying that we can start training now, right? Naruto guessed where he got a nod from Omoi and the others. Come on you slowpokes, you're slower than Post, Killer Bee cried as he told them to hurry up. Does he always talk like that? Naruto asked, to which Omoi and the girls all nodded sadly, where they all followed after Killer Bee to train. For the next 2 weeks Naruto trained with the Kumo Genin under Killer Bee, where he would leave his house in the early morning to go into the forest telling his mother and Shizune that he was going off to train by himself in the forest. Neither Tsunade nor Shizune knew that Naruto was secretly training with a group of shinobi from Kumo, since he knew that if his mother or Shizune knew about this, they would freak out and forbid him from seeing them and he wouldn't be able to train with them. During those 2 weeks Naruto got to know the others better. He found Killer Bee to be a funny enough person, although he did find him weird with always trying to rap and rhyme and do it badly. He also learned that Killer Bee demanded respect from his students and others, where he told Naruto to call him either Jinchuriki-sama or Hachibi-sama. It was then that Naruto learned that both Killer Bee and Yugito were Jinchurikis. He learned this since Killer Bee made no secret that he had the Hachibi no Kyokyu, the 8-tailed ox seal inside him, and Naruto figured out that Yugito was one since it explained the weird chakra he saw her fight with. Yugito and the other were of course surprised when Naruto asked her if she was one, where he told them how he realized it, which of course impressed Omoi and the others at how Naruto was able to figure it out. After which they then told Naruto that Yugito had the Nibi no Bakenoko 2-tailed monster cat inside her. Naruto also became good friends with Omoi, where they found that they had a good bit in common. Since, for example, both of them were nearly always surrounded by girls. Naruto was nearly always with his mother, Shizune and Tonton Girl Pig, while Omoi was nearly always with Yugito, Sumui and Karui. Hence it was nice for both of them to have some male companionship around their own age. Despite their rocky start, Naruto and Yugito got along okay and developed a sort of rivalry and respected one another. They would often spar against one another in taijutsu, where Naruto usually won thanks to his advanced training with his mother, and in kenjutsu, where Yugito always won since Naruto was only learning. When Naruto asked Omoi why Yugito was always challenging him to spar against her, Omoi explained to him that Yugito was the strongest genin in their village. She was top of their class in nearly everything, where the only other genin that could rival her was Sumui, who was the second best genin, but no one could actually beat her in a fight. So in Yugito's mind, Naruto is the only person she deems worthy of being her rival and the only person around her own age group that can challenge her and who she wants to beat in a fair fight. When Naruto heard this, he could only sigh and think about another fine mess he got himself into. Although he had to admit it could have been worse. She could have been some weird girl or guy with bushy eyebrows and wearing a spandex suit and shouting at the top of his or her voice all the time. The only person on the team that he seemingly couldn't get along with was Karui, as she still held a grudge against Naruto for beating her and hanging her up a tree, where she had to be rescued by her sensei. It also didn't help the fact that she was often remained of her defeat and humiliation by both her sensei and her teammates. As well as the fact that she did not trust Naruto, as she still thought he was a spy or an enemy shinobi. But for the most part she mainly ignored Naruto and only acknowledged him when she had to. Although she still kept a close eye on him in case he would try anything, and so that she would be ready for it if he did. Finally then there was Sumui, where despite the awkward position that she and Naruto ended up together, the blonde boy had no problem with her, as she basically treated him coldly, like everyone else, but neutrally, as if the incident never happened. At least until when Sumui had asked Naruto for help in bringing water back to the camp from a nearby stream. When they went to the stream, Sumui had suddenly stopped and turned around to face Naruto and comforted him about what had happened. Sumui then proceeded to tell Naruto that she was willing to ignore the incident between them, as well as forget that it ever happened if Naruto was willing. Naturally Naruto was more than willing, although there were times when he found it hard to forget it, especially whenever he saw Sumui and had to fight the urge to blush red when he thought of it. Once they both agreed to forget the incident, Sumui also then told him that should he ever mention the incident to anyone, she would castrate him with a dull and rusty kunai and do several other things that would result in Naruto having a very slow and painful death. Once she had finished telling what she would do to him, Naruto could not help but start to sweat a little and gulp as well as fight the urge to cover himself, where he nodded his head several times very quickly, telling her that he understood perfectly. Unfortunately, as they were having the private conversation, Omoi had been nearby gathering wood for the campfire, where he had heard the whole conversation as well as the incident between Naruto and Sumui. Once they left, he quickly raced back the camp and told his sensei and the other girls what had happened between Naruto and Sumui. When the two got back, they were comforted with a screaming Karui, who was accusing them of being intimate, while Yugito just stood back and looked at them with a raised eyebrow, not knowing how to react to the whole situation. While Killer Bee stood back with Omoi chuckling away and singing bad rhymes about young love blossoming between Naruto and Sumui, while Omoi just smirked and enjoyed the show and helped to tease the two. He also even congratulated Naruto on being the only boy to ever cope a feel of Sumui and survive, as many boys had tried to back at Kumo and all failed with very bad results, since Sumui was Kumo's proverbial ice queen due to her cold appearance and attitude. Naruto had tried to explain exactly what had happened and deny that there was anything between him and Sumui. But they ignored his explanation, where Killer Bee and Omoi continued to tease them, while Karui continued to shout at them. This continued until Sumui finally had enough, as she had remained calm and emotionless during the whole event. She then quickly told Karui to shut up with a sharp and cold tone of voice, which silenced the dark-skinned girl Karui. She then silenced Killer Bee and Omoi teasing with a cold and frosty glare that made both men shut up and made them shiver slightly. After which she then went over to Omoi and grabbed onto his arm and dragged him behind a few trees a bit away from the camp and did not appear until 10 minutes later. Where Sumui came out behind the trees and went over to the campfire to start cooking their lunch, she was soon followed by Omoi, who came out from behind the trees and as white as a ghost and shaking with fear. When Naruto and the others asked what happened, Omoi looked over at Sumui, who just gave him a cold look and refused to answer, as if he was too terrified to even say what she had said to him. Seeing this, Killer Bee, Naruto and the others decided to leave well enough alone and not rattle the cage of the tiger known as Sumui. 2 weeks after meeting Naruto, Killer Bee decided it was time for his students and him to head back home to Kumo, since he knew that his brother A would start to worry soon and probably send every shinobi to look for them. Killer Bee was currently watching Yugito and Naruto spar with their katanas against one another, while not too far away Sumui was sparring against both Omoi and Karui, where despite being outnumbered, was winning. As Killer Bee watched them spar, the elder man could not help but be impressed with how quickly Naruto had grasped the basics of Kenjutsu. Although he was still a long way off for being at Yugito's, Sumui's or any of the others' levels in Kenjutsu, he had still made impressive steps in learning it, in just 2 weeks. Killer Bee had also given him some tips on to improve his taijutsu, once Naruto explained that he was trying to create his own one, which greatly impressed Killer Bee further. Killer Bee also could tell that Naruto would have been quite a shinobi one day if he was with a shinobi village, since he always had an eye for seeing talent when he saw it in someone, and he could see that Naruto had a lot of it. So much so that when Naruto left for home, Killer Bee followed him, just to make sure that Naruto was telling the truth about himself. Although stealth wasn't Killer Bee's specialty, he was still skilled enough to keep hidden and not let Naruto notice him. He then followed Naruto to a small house at the edge of the village, where from a distance he saw Naruto enter it. Later on he saw Naruto come out to greet his mother and sister, and their pet pig when they came home, and saw that they were indeed the healers that Omoi described to him, proving that Naruto spoke the truth. In a way, Killer Bee was also disappointed that Naruto was not born in Kumo, or at the very least in Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country, where he would have been accepted as one on the spot. Since talented kids like Naruto weren't very common, and if he was with Kumo, Killer Bee was certain Naruto would have risen high there. He was almost tempted to bring Naruto with him to Kumo and try and have joined Kumo, but he knew his brother would never accept a kid with shinobi training that was from another country regardless of how skilled he was. Since his brother was paranoid when it came to Kumo's safety and would most likely fear that Naruto was a spy from another village. Not to mention that if he found out that Naruto had defeated Yugito, when she used the Nibi's chakra, he would most likely ordered Naruto to be killed. Fearing that he would be a future threat to the village, and he didn't want that to happen to Naruto or his family, which was why he wasn't going to mention Naruto to his brother when he got home and have his students swear not to mention Naruto either. After a while, Killer Bee had Naruto and the others stop their sparring matches and to come over to him, where he then told them that they would be leaving tomorrow morning to head back to Kumo. When he told them, he could see the disappointed look on Naruto's face, since Naruto had told him that he didn't really have many real friends since he traveled so much with his family from one country to the other. Killer Bee could also see that even Omoi was a bit saddened, as well as Yugito when she frowned slightly. Karui and Samui on the other hand kept a neutral expression on their faces, so to keep everyone else from knowing how they felt about the news. Deciding not to leave without giving Naruto a few parting gifts, Killer Bee took out a small paper note out of his pouch and handed it to Naruto, who had a confused look on his face. What a piece of paper! Naruto asked as he held it up, but before Killer Bee could explain what it really was, Yugito spoke up, knowing how her sensei would explain it in one of his bad rhymes. That is not an ordinary piece of paper, it is a paper made from a special type of tree, which is grown and fed with chakra. They are used in products that react to even the slightest hint of chakra in any number of ways, depending on the nature latent in the chakra. This allows a person to know what nature affinity they have. Do you know about nature affinities? Yugito asked, where Naruto just nodded, since his mother had told him all about nature affinity and how everyone had at least one natural nature affinity and could learn others if they needed. Naruto also knew his affinity already, since he had the Mokuton bloodline and his mother had told him that Mokuton was based on combining earth and water-based chakra to create wood. But he decided to play dumb since he had heard of these cards from his mother and they were only supplied to shinobi from shinobi villages since they are so hard-grown. Where if he told them he already knew his affinity, it would raise unwanted questions. Good. Just so you know, all you have to do is place your hand on the paper and channel a bit of your chakra to it and it will react to whatever affinity you have, so if you have an affinity to fire, the paper will ignite and turn to ash. If you have an affinity to water, the paper will become damp. If you have an affinity to earth, it will turn to dirt. If you have an affinity to lightning, the paper will crumple up, and if you have an affinity to wind, the paper will split in two, explained Yugito. Naruto nodded his head as he already understood it all and then channeled a small bit of his chakra into the paper. But what happened next surprised everyone, including Naruto. Instead of cutting into two pieces, the paper cut into three pieces as it fell to the ground, where the first one turned to dirt, the second became damp, and the third crumpled up. This showed that Naruto had 4 natural nature affinities, one for earth, one for water, one for wind and one for lightning. 4 natural affinities, that can't be. Yugito thought in disbelief. No way, Karui thought. Whoa, Omoi thought. Impossible, Samui thought. Damn, the kid is jam-packed with surprises, Killer Bee thought. Naruto was probably the most shocked of all, as he had never expected this. He knew he would have earth and water affinity but not wind and lightning. After a little while, everyone got over their surprise and regained themselves. Well, ain't that a kick in the pasm? You got more surprises than a barrel of jokers, Killer Bee joked, which caused Naruto and the others to sweat drops since Killer Bee jokes were as bad as his rhyming. Once the shock had worn off, Killer Bee then asked Naruto to give back the katana he gave him, which Naruto did. After which Killer Bee then took out a scroll and then bit his finger to make it bleed and spread some blood on the seal in the scroll, where a long katana in a green sheath appeared. The Suka handle was double length so that 2 hands could grab onto it, and it was green, while the Suka Ito, the wrap of the handle, was brown, and the Suba hilt was round shape with a series of designs and shapes on it. Killer Bee then threw the katana to Naruto, who caught it. What is it? Asked Naruto. What do you think, stupid? It's not a butter knife, it's a katana, for you fool. You gonna need one to kick ass, Killer Bee said with a smirk. For me? Asked Naruto in surprise, where Killer Bee nodded and smiled. Hearing this, Naruto ran over to Killer Bee and hugged the elder man, saying thank you over and over again. This caused Killer Bee to smile further and say, Grandmaster Bee is so cool, he's cooler than all and still ain't a bad guy at all. Once Naruto had stopped saying thank you, Killer Bee then gave him a few scrolls on Kenjutsu to learn from, so that he could train to get better, which Naruto was grateful for. The next morning, in the early parts of the morning, Killer Bee and his students finished having breakfast and packed up their belongings. But before they could leave, Naruto arrived to say goodbye to his newly made friends. See you around, Naruto. Take care of yourself. If you and your family are ever near Kumo, don't be a stranger and pay us a visit. We can show you around our village, Omoi said as he shook Naruto's hand. Naturally, Naruto said he would, although in reality he knew he wouldn't, since his mother wouldn't go near any shinobi village for fear of their exposure. I suggest that you stay alive, Naruto-san, and that you get stronger, Since I promise I will be stronger next time we meet again and the next time we fight the outcome will be very different, Yugito said. At this Naruto smirked since he was used to Yugito saying stuff like this. Sure thing Yugito, and you can expect a tougher fight as well when we do fight again. Naturally Yugito smirked at this and said she would look forward to the challenge. Sumui for her part kept her face emotionless and neutral as always, but offered her hand and said a simple, "Goodbye Naruto-san," which Naruto took her hand and shook it and said a friendly goodbye to her. Karui simple nodded her head and grunt out a goodbye, since she still didn't fully trust Naruto and still held a slight grudge against him for beating her, although despite that, she did think he was an okay person. Killer Bee said goodbye to Naruto and was going into one of his long rhymes, but before he could even get halfway Yugito and Sumui each grabbed one of their sensei's ears and started to pull them, causing him to yell in pain and telling them to stop so that they could get going. At this Naruto could only laugh and was going to miss seeing this kind of stuff with them. Eventually though the 5 Kumo nins jumped into the tree tops, where they waved goodbye to Naruto one more time and then disappeared into the trees. After which Naruto then went home, whereas walked through the forest his thoughts were filled about Yugito and the others. Who he wondered if he would ever see again, and if so where would he? That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.